My sister's lavish baby shower turned into a public showdown when my aunt demanded my registry items, and I quietly engineered emotional revenge that shook them all. I froze the moment I crossed the threshold, chandeliers like giant prisms scattering rainbow specks across satin tablecloths. I'm Jessica Ramirez, 32, 8 months pregnant, and this is my very first baby shower in Manhattan, New York. My maternity dress, soft cream with a delicate lace overlay, felt suddenly too plain as the swell of my belly brushed its embroidered seam. Everywhere I looked, pastel peonies and hydrangeas spilled from gold urns, and tables groaned beneath designer gift bags wrapped in silk ribbons. My sister, Vanessa, swept toward me in a champagne satin gown the exact shade of blush. She planted a kiss on my cheek, eyes bright, but there was an edge to her smile I couldn't place. "Jess, you look radiant," she cooed, her voice pitched a notch too high. As relatives pressed in, my mother clutching my free hand, cousins lining up for photos, I swallowed a knot of unease. Their laughter tinkled like miniature bells, but each note felt brittle. I scanned the room for someone whose warmth might be real. My best friend Clara waved from the far side of the room, but her eyes darted away whenever I glanced back. Even the caterer hovered expectantly, napkins in hand, as if I'd scripted this entire moment. The background hum of polite chatter felt like a low current tugging me under. Aunts and uncles drifted closer to the gift table, speaking in hushed tones I couldn't quite catch. Through the soft glow of crystal, I noticed Cousin Erin's lip twitch, just a twitch, when she glimpsed the tower of pastel-wrapped boxes. My palms itched, but I forced a smile as Vanessa guided me to the center of the room. My heart galloped against my ribs, each beat echoing louder than the last. "Let's toast to my beautiful sister," Vanessa announced, raising her glass. A cluster of voices followed, champagne flutes clinking. I lifted mine, but the cold glass felt alien in my hand. I glanced at the designer invitations tucked into my purse, the ones Vanessa insisted on, claiming she only wanted the best for me, and I wondered, at what cost? As camera phones snapped, I turned my face toward the nearest lens. Flash stung, and for a moment I saw behind Vanessa's bright eyes something dark, a calculating flicker. My stomach, already stretched taut, clenched itself in warning. I forced my lips into a polite smile, but inside, dread settled like a stone. My gaze drifted back across the room, searching for genuine joy. All I found were pristine decorations, polished words, and eyes that measured me, and my baby, as though we were commodities at an auction. I realized then that this shower, this opulent facade, was only the beginning. And as Vanessa's laughter chimed once more, I felt a cold certainty grip me. I was not among allies, and nothing here was what it seemed. I cradled my champagne flute like a lifeline as Vanessa floated back to my side, her smile practiced and flawless. "So, Jess," she purred, "I've been over your registry, truly exceptional taste." She tapped the printed list laid out on a lacquered table, dotted with delicate cucumber sandwiches and crystal flutes. My throat tightened. Each bullet point on that list was my careful choice, items I'd researched for safety, durability, and comfort. But Vanessa's praise felt like a spotlight, illuminating every soft pastel bassinet and every extra pack of newborn diapers I'd added just in case. I forced a laugh. "Thanks," I said, voice light. Round us, relatives nodded and murmured agreement. Aunt Marable dabbed her lips with a lace napkin and whispered, "Truly, Jessica has outdone herself." I noticed Uncle Scott lean in, eyebrows raised as if silently asking how many did she actually order. Across the table, my cousin Erin's smirk flickered again. I caught her eye, but she looked away, lips pressed tight. Vanessa cleared her throat and lowered her voice. "Just for me," she insisted. "You know," she said, "I'm already stretched thin with my little one. We're short on some basics." Her smile turned sly. "Those extra packs of diapers and onesies on your registry, they go to much better use at our house." My heart thudded against my ribs, loud enough to drown out the soft strings playing overhead. My fingers tightened on the stem of my flute. I tried to keep my voice steady. "I picked those for my baby," I replied, careful. A ripple of polite coughs followed, but nobody spoke up. The room's air felt thick, suffused with the scent of peonies and underlying tension. Vanessa leaned in as though sharing a secret. "I'd hate for those boxes to sit unused," she murmured, eyes glittering. I swallowed. The candlelight danced on Vanessa's manicured nails as they hovered over the neatly stacked diaper packs. I heard my own pulse in my ears. "They won't," I said softly. "My baby needs them." Champagne flute slipped from my fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Glass shards tinkled like mocking laughter. Conversation halted, heads turned. Vanessa's perfect mask cracked, her jaw tightening, nostrils flaring. Erin bit her lip and Aunt Marable blinked rapidly. I reached instinctively for the table, retrieving my list and straightening the edges. My cheeks burned, not from embarrassment, but from anger. I cleared my throat. "I'm afraid I won't be sharing any of my registry items." Vanessa's lips curled. "That's disappointing," she said, voice cool. "After all, sisters should help each other." Her eyes flicked to the crowd. "Isn't that right?" Nobody answered. The waiter hovered beside us, uncertainty in his posture. A bead of sweat slid down my back, and I felt suffocated by the hush. My chest tightened as practiced politeness withered in the room. Cousin Erin crossed her arms, leaning back with a smug tilt. "Well," she drawled, "I suppose you can afford to keep everything for yourself." She laughed softly enough for everyone to hear. The champagne strings warbled back to life, but the melody felt hollow. Family members exchanged uneasy glances, as though choosing sides in a silent tug-of-war. Vanessa watched me, eyes sharp, her lips pressed into a thin line. I straightened my spine, gripping my registry list as if it were a shield. The soft chime of cutlery resumed, but each note cut through me like shards of glass. My breath hitched, but I forced myself to meet Vanessa's gaze. I realized then that this was more than a petition for diapers. It was a challenge, and I wasn't about to back down. Aunt Maribel's voice floated from nearby, sweet and falsely concerned. "Jessica, dear, you wouldn't want your sister to struggle, would you?" I cradled my belly, feeling the baby stir. My lip curled into a small, firm smile. "I want what's best for both of us," I said, tone clear. "But those items don't belong to you." The silence that followed was heavy, pregnant with unspoken threats. Vanessa's eyes narrowed, and I sensed the gathering storm behind her calm facade. And as the waiter replaced the broken glass, I realized there was no turning back now. My refusal had set something in motion, and I was about to find out just how far they'd go. I barely registered the faint clink of silverware as Aunt Maribel rose from her chair, smoothing the lace of her sleeves. "Jessica," she began, voice soft and calculating, "we've noticed you ordered extra newborn onesies. Would be such a shame for them to go unused." Her gaze swept over the assembled guests. "Surely you'd agree they belong in a deserving home like Vanessa." My heart lurched. The soft pastel tower of onesies glittered on the gift table, each package stamped with my name. I felt blood rush to my face and my ribs tighten around my baby. Vanessa sat back, feigning innocence, her fingers drumming the arm of her chair. I opened my mouth, but my voice hitched. "I'm not sure what you mean," I stammered, but Aunt Maribel's lips curved. "Oh, darling," she cooed, leaning in. "We're all family here. We understand your excitement. You've prepared so well." She glanced at Vanessa. "But Vanessa's supplies are running dangerously low." I forced a nod. "I'm sorry, but those onesies are for my baby." My words were soft, but the room shifted. I felt everyone's eyes press into me, weighing guilt against loyalty. Vanessa's voice drifted over from my left, smooth and insistent. "Jess, I'm bleeding money on formula and diapers. You've got a surplus, please just help out." Her eyes were liquid calm, but I saw the steel beneath. Aunt Maribel stood straighter, all warmth drained from her tone. "Think of it as charity." She waved a hand toward the table. "You could do so much good." Aunt Patty leaned forward, whispering, "Honestly, Jessica, it's unthinkable to let those go to waste." I felt Cousin Erin's gaze, sharp as broken glass, burning into my shoulder. I turned, meeting her eyes for a single breath. She smirked. Silence pressed in, heavy as humid August air. My cheeks burned, and I swallowed the lump in my throat. Around me, polite nods rippled through the family circle. I looked down at my registry list in trembling hands, then at the stacks of pink and blue onesies, folded neatly and tagged. Each one was chosen with love, soft cotton for midnight wake-ups, zippers for quick changes, playful prints I'd imagine my baby wearing. Vanessa's hand closed over mine. "Please," she whispered, voice low, "don't make this harder than it needs to be." My pulse thundered. I could hear my baby's faint kicks, tiny rebellions against this suffocating room. I pictured my nursery, pastel walls, stuffed animals, that mountain of onesies waiting to be unfolded. I lifted my chin. Murmurs grew louder, questions, half-guilty stares. My voice trembled but carried. "I'm sorry," I began, each word deliberate. "I can't donate these." I paused, letting it sink in. "They're for my child." Vanessa blinked, lips parting in surprise. Aunt Maribel's face drained of color. Aunts exchanged uneasy glances. The waiter froze mid-step. Erin's smirk flickered, then sharpened into a sneer. Vanessa's voice dropped, cold as sleet. "You're refusing family." She asked, voice low enough only I could hear. I swallowed past the lump in my throat. "I am," I said, tone steady now. "My baby comes first." The room held its breath. Then Aunt Patty tutted and sank back, muttering about selfishness. Erin leaned forward, whispering to her mother. Vanessa's perfect mask shattered. Her eyes glinted with something dangerous. In that silence, I realized this wasn't just about onesies. It was a test, and I had failed their expectations. My cheeks still burned, but my resolve hardened. I stepped away from the table, clutching my registry, and faced the gathering storm of their disapproval. And as Vanessa's eyes narrowed, I knew there was no going back. My choice had been made, now I had to live with it. My voice caught in my throat as I straightened my shoulders and met the room's gaze. "I'm sorry, but these items are for my baby." Silence fell like a weight. Forks hovered midair, champagne flutes paused an inch from lips, and every pair of eyes locked onto me. The faint scent of roses and cake mingled with tension so thick I could taste it. Vanessa's perfect smile froze, and for a heartbeat I saw something raw flicker behind her eyes, anger, betrayal, something darker. Her lips parted, then pressed together again in tight control. Aunt Maribel's breath hitched, Her fingers clenched the edge of her chair. Cousin Erin leaned forward, narrow-eyed. "You're 8 months along, how selfish." Her tone was clipped as though she'd rehearsed it. A ripple of murmurs spread through the guests, each whisper a tiny dart aimed at my chest. My cheeks burned, but I refused to look away. My arms folded protectively over my belly, my only shield. My pulse thrummed in my ears louder than the soft string quartet in the corner. I could feel the baby's gentle kicks responding to my fear, and they steadied me. Aunt Patty tutted. "After all we've done for you," she said, voice low enough to be private but loud enough for anyone to overhear. "Surely you can spare a few packs." I shook my head, breathing shallowly. "No." My single word slammed into the room. Glass trembled in champagne flutes. Vanessa's breath caught, her chest rose and fell in a sharp inhale. "Jess," she said, voice smooth but cold. "You're embarrassing us." Embarrassing them, my sister, my family, felt like a physical blow. My spine stiffened. I thought of the nursery I'd painted last month, the gentle lullabies I'd practiced at night, and the soft cotton layers I'd carefully selected. I pressed my palms to my belly and felt a surge of protective fury. "My baby is not a bargaining chip," I said, voice stronger now. "These supplies are not up for negotiation." Aunt Marable exchanged a quick glance with Vanessa. Their eyes sparked with something I'd never seen, something unforgiving. Vanessa stood. Murmurs erupted again. My mother moved forward, hand trembling as she reached for mine. "Sweetheart," she whispered, "please don't make this harder on yourself." Her eyes flicked to Vanessa, then to Aunt Marable. I heard the unspoken "do what they want" for peace. I squeezed my mother's hand, feeling a crack in her resolve. "Mom, I'm okay," I said softly, but the words felt feeble. Vanessa advanced, her pace measured. She stopped so close I could smell her perfume, vanilla and something bitter. "You're being ridiculous," she hissed, so softly the others didn't hear. "You owe us." Something in her tone snapped my last restraint. "No," I repeated, not a whisper this time, but a declaration. I held her gaze. "I owe my child." Vanessa's face paled, and for a fleeting moment I glimpsed the hurt she'd buried beneath her perfect exterior. Then her eyes hardened. Aunt Marable cleared her throat. "Fine," she said, voice tight. "If you won't give them willingly, we'll just take them." She swept her hand toward the table in a grand gesture, as if claiming territory. The crowd shivered with uneasy excitement, like spectators at a match. I felt the air shift, charged with the promise of confrontation. My palms grew slick with sweat, and my baby fluttered in response to my racing heartbeat. Vanessa's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I knew you'd see reason," she said, voice low and false. I clenched my jaw, resolve hardening into something fierce. I wouldn't give in. Not now, not ever. And as Aunt Marable reached for the first pack of onesies, I realized the real battle was only just beginning. The moment Aunt Marable's hand left the diaper stack, everything exploded. Vanessa's palm connected with my cheek in a sharp crack that silenced the room. I stood frozen, one hand pressed to my stinging face, the other hovering inches from my belly. The shrill gasp from my mother echoed across the flowers and crystal, then nothing but stunned silence. My cheek burned hotter than any embarrassment, the sting seared straight through to my bones. Cousin Erin leaned forward, laughter spilling from her lips like poison. "You think motherhood is a competition?" she jeered, eyes glittering. A ripple of cruel giggles followed her, and Aunt Marable's pursed lips betrayed her satisfaction. I tasted blood where my lip had split. My vision blurred, but I refused to cry. I held my posture rigid, as though bracing against some invisible current. Guests shifted uncomfortably, but no one moved to stop them. No one said a word. Vanessa stood over me, chest heaving, cheeks flushed. Her eyes, once soft with feigned concern, now blazed with triumph. "Maybe this will knock some sense into you," she snapped, voice low enough only I could hear. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing the tears down. My baby fluttered inside me, a silent heartbeat of courage. I could feel every pair of eyes on us, some shocked, many indifferent, a few openly amused. My mother's hand shook as she reached toward me. She swallowed hard, then pulled back, eyes drifting away. Aunt Patty dabbed at her mouth with a lace napkin, face pale, but no one intervened. Erin sauntered forward, tapping Vanessa's shoulder. "Well done," she whispered, loud enough for the front row. "She needed that." I opened my eyes. The room looked unreal, soft pastels tainted by harsh stares and echoed laughter. A chandelier glinted overhead, and for a moment I saw my reflection in a polished frame, red cheek, tear-bright eyes, chin lifted defiantly. Vanessa turned to the assembled family. "Sorry about the visuals, everyone," she called out, voice syrupy, "but we can't have selfish sisters undermining family." She swept her hand at me in dismissal. "Now, let's get back to celebrating my baby." Aunt Marable clapped lightly, the sound hollow. The waitstaff resumed their packing, offering trays of untouched hors d'oeuvres. My mother sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands. I swallowed bile and lifted my chin. "This isn't over," I whispered, more to myself than to anyone else. My voice steadied as I felt the baby shift inside me, our shared heartbeat a steady drum of defiance. Vanessa laughed, turning away. "Of course it is," she said. "After all, I'm the one giving birth next month." A hollow laugh bubbled up in the room as cameras and phones hovered like vultures. I let them capture every angle. My fury, my humiliation, my refusal to plead. As Vanessa rejoined the circle, I noticed Clara slip away toward me, eyes full of guilt. But before she could reach me, cousin Erin blocked her path, shaking her head. Clara paused, remorse flickering, then melted back into the crowd. The quartet struck up another tune, light, cheerful, discordant with the mood. I took a breath, pressing my palm to my side where the last of the tears pooled. In that moment, something inside me shifted. The walls of politeness and broken bonds could no longer contain my rage. I would not crumble here. I straightened, lifting my chin like a queen battered but unbowed. The room's hum turned to background noise as I traced the path back to the ladies' lounge, each step a promise. This fight wasn't over, and I would make them regret this night. Door clicked shut behind me, muffling the distant laughter into a dull roar. I'm curled against the plush bench in the ladies' lounge, my cheek throbbing where Vanessa's hand met skin. The room smells of soap and air freshener, an antiseptic calm that mocks the chaos in my head. I press 2 fingers to the bruise forming beneath my eye, tasting the copper tang of tears I refuse to shed. My reflection in the ornate mirror shows a swollen face and fighting eyes, vulnerable, yes, but unbroken. I twist my wedding ring around my finger, the cool metal grounding me. The sting in my palm fades, replaced by something hotter, righteous fury. Each mocking laugh, each whispered barb, each indifferent glance coils tighter in my chest. I cradle my belly as the baby shifts, tiny punches against the injustice we've endured. My fingers swipe across my phone, unlocking it with a thumb that trembles only slightly. I scroll through the group chat, the one labeled Family Love, and my stomach knots at the flood of angry messages, Vanessa bragging about teaching just a lesson, Aunt Maribel congratulating her on standing up for family, Erin's mocking gifts. I hesitate, heart pounding. Then I open a new message thread addressed only to Vanessa. Don't underestimate me. My thumb hovers over send, heat climbing up my neck. I type again, softer this time, your move. I press send. Phone buzzes before I can second-guess myself. Vanessa's message glows on the screen. What are you talking about? A small, satisfied smile flickers across my lips. I don't respond. Instead, I tuck the phone into my clutch and rise, straightening my spine. Outside, the ballroom's laughter and music seep through the door. I can almost picture Vanessa's triumphant glare as she thinks she's won. Let her think that. I take a deep breath, steadying myself against the vanity counter. Mirror reflects my determination, eyes sharpened, posture rigid. A single thought crystallizes. This family thrives on appearances and control. Tonight they'll learn that I'm neither a pawn nor powerless. I rub my fingers together, tracing the faint bruise, letting it remind me why I'm here and what I'm fighting for. My baby's future isn't theirs to gamble with. I step back into the hallway, smoothing my dress. From here, I can hear Vanessa's voice, soft, laughing carried on the other side of the door. I pause, pressing an ear to the wood, tasting the sweet irony of her victory. But victory can be stolen. My phone buzzes again, but I don't look. Instead, I focus on the distant glow of the ballroom lights, plotting my next move. The sting in my cheek pulses, a reminder that I'm alive and dangerous. I tuck a loose strand of hair behind my ear and walk back toward the door, each step purposeful. They'll never see it coming. And as I push the door open, the music swells and all eyes turn to me. Jessica, the sister who dared to say no. I smile, calm and quiet, letting the tension hang in the air. They think they've broken me, but they've only ignited something far more formidable. What happens next will shake this family to its core, and I'm just getting started. I sat cross-legged on my living room floor, laptop glowing against the dark. As the clock ticked past midnight, every click a countdown to my carefully plotted reckoning. My fingers flew across the keyboard, navigating bank statements and transaction histories to map out exactly when each gift to Vanessa, Aunt Maribel, and Erin had arrived down to the minute. Under a series of anonymous email accounts, I drafted thank you notes to local charities, arranging surprise pickups for their luxury linens, designer stroller, and that smug Erin's monogrammed diaper bag. Each shipment confirmation pinged in my inbox like a small explosion, and I printed the receipts and tracking labels in neat columns, checking off each name as the courier doors slid shut. The next step took shape in a flurry of keystrokes. I designed mock shower invitations on pastel cardstock, complete with counterfeit registries linking to shipments of mismatched children's toys and oversized novelty items that would arrive at Vanessa's doorstep by morning. I printed mock photos, Vanessa posing with her stroller, Aunt Maribel admiring her silk sheets, Erin flaunting her custom bag, then carefully glued them to sheets of heavy stationery, composing letters that read like affectionate family greetings, all signed in a looping script that wasn't mine. I stacked everything into separate envelopes, labeling them with curled return addresses to ensure each would slip under the correct front door before sunrise. As the night deepened, I paused only to sip lukewarm tea and rub the ache in my wrist, but adrenaline kept me steady. No tears, no regrets, just cold, efficient resolve. My phone buzzed with another frantic message from Vanessa. Jess, just tell me what you want. I let it go unanswered, slipping the phone back into my pocket as I folded the last envelope and slipped it into a tote bag by the door. I arranged the printed lists and shipping labels on the coffee table like a general planning battle formations, listening to the baby's gentle kicks as if she were applauding my strategy. Every detail had been accounted for. Charities confirmed for pickups at dawn, fake registry links live, envelopes addressed, and a final anonymous email scheduled to hit the family group chat at 6:00 a.m., teasing the surprise that would explain all the morning's chaos. Before stepping into the chill night air, I paused at the hallway mirror, smoothing my hair and tracing the bruise on my cheek with a fingertip. The street was deserted, streetlights casting long shadows across the pavement as I slipped the tote over my shoulder. I took a slow breath of the cool spring air, feeling the baby shift inside me. Calm efficiency of my actions belied the storm of emotion raging beneath my skin, and by dawn, my family would wake to the fallout of my silent vengeance, powerless to stop the truth that would land at their doorsteps. When the first courier knocked at Vanessa's door, this night's work would set everything ablaze. And I would be waiting, 8 months pregnant, resolute, and ready for what came next. The sunrise hit my front porch like a spotlight, painting everything in sharp clarity. By 6:30, I'd received the first texts. "Where's my stroller? Vanessa, my linens are gone. Aunt Maribel, who donated my diaper bag." Aaron, my phone buzzed relentlessly, each alert a drumbeat of their unraveling. I cradled my mug of coffee, steam curling around me, and watched the gold morning light spill across the street. Across the cul-de-sac, I saw the charity van pull away from Vanessa's townhouse, carrying her vintage stroller, so carefully maintained she once bragged it was worth more than some cars. Around the corner, 2 volunteers hoisted Aunt Maribel's monogrammed silk sheets into their arms, smiles bright as they thanked the anonymous donor. Aaron's designer diaper bag sat by our local shelter's entrance, already being filled with supplies for a family in need. I scrolled through the family group chat where messages exploded in every direction, accusations, outrage, panic. Vanessa posted a photo of her empty hallway with the caption, "This is beyond cruel." Aunt Maribel railed about theft and betrayal, tagging the local police. Aaron demanded to know who had the nerve to humiliate us all. My lips curved into a quiet smile. I typed one line into the chat, then deleted it. Instead, I responded privately to Vanessa's desperate plea. I did it. I hit send. Her reply was instant. "Why?" I answered with a single word, "survive." She tried again, "What do you want?" But I didn't respond. I slipped my phone into my pocket and leaned back, placing a hand on my belly. My baby stirred, tiny flutters echoing my calm heartbeat. Across the street, I saw my mother emerge onto her porch, eyes red from tears. She held a small box. Inside were 2 of the plushest onesies from my registry, wrapped and ready to give away. She looked at me, her face pleading. I nodded once and mouthed, "It's done." In that moment, I understood the cost of kindness and the power of standing firm. My family's expectations of obedience and sacrifice had shattered against my resolve. They could call the police, hurl insults, or threaten me with every consequence they imagined, but they could not touch my strength or my baby. The charity volunteers waved as they drove away, and the hush of dawn settled over the street. The only sounds were birdsong and distant traffic, indifferent to the family war now in full view on group chat. I sipped my coffee, savoring the warmth as the morning light grew stronger. My cheeks still bore the faint bruise from Vanessa's slap, but it felt less like a mark of shame and more like a badge of survival. A new message popped up. "Jess, please. We just want our things back." Vanessa, I stared at it without replying. Because some things, like trust and respect, can't be reclaimed with apologies or tearful pleas. I stood, pressing a hand to my belly, and let the cool breeze carry away the echoes of their outrage. My secret triumph was complete. And as the sun climbed higher, I realized the real legacy I'd leave wasn't in returned possessions, but in the unspoken promise I'd made to my child, that we would never be taken for granted. Now all I had to do was wait and watch what they'd do next.